Hey,
Hey,
what's going, man?
Al, how you been, man?
Good, good. I'll try to get this thing positioned a little bit better here. We're going to start a comedy podcast with we had that Dear Sirs thing going for a while, but now we're going to try out. We're going to try a radio show. Just do it with all sound effects and stuff, kind of like the John Boy and Billy show down here. I don't know if you remember that at all.
Yeah, I remember John Boy and Billy. They're still doing it, right?
Little skits, right? And
Yeah,
we're going to try to do the same thing down
that would
here.
be cool. That would
Yeah,
be
yeah.
cool. Because
Wish you were down here, man. Wish you were down here. We need you.
I know. I come back every once in a while. I got three of my kids still living in North Carolina. Two are still in Raleigh. One's in Charlotte. They're both in their 30s. The two in Raleigh. So they have families and stuff of their own. So I do come down and visit. But one day I got to make a longer stay visit and come
Yeah.
and hit the stomping grounds a little bit and maybe make time to do a project or two.
Well,
Because
we're still counting on you for the sessions.
yeah, count me in, man. I was just watching clips of it, getting ready for this,
Yeah.
and I was like, I'm watching it. First of all, I'm like, I love the story. I love the plot twist. I love a lot of the performances, but I'm like watching it, and I'm like, man, I loved playing. Mr. Fauché.
You're the perfect Mr. Fauché, man.
Yeah. And I'm like, now that I've already done it the first time, if when we redo it and we do backstory and all that kind of stuff, I feel like I could give it a little extra. I feel like I know the character more. It's set in. That was like, what was that, 2014 we did that?
15, 14, 15. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I wrote a second episode, which I don't know if I sent you or not, but I will. And then I've got the other ones. I got the other ones Bibled out. It's just a six episodes enclosed series, where in the end you end up getting it.
I think, yeah, Fouché, he deserves it. Somebody's got
uh-huh. Yeah, and guess who's going to off you?
Who would it be? Who would do it? Jeff Briggs?
Rafi, exactly.
Yeah, that'd be great. I tell you what, man, like, I tell people over here about the North Carolina film scene, and it was some of the best times I've ever had. The camaraderie there amongst the filmmakers, the actors, the directors, producers, the writers, everybody involved. It's just was such a positive experience for me, and the scene was great, and you were great, and we've done a lot of projects together through the years there. And so I'm always bragging about the North Carolina film scene, and there may or may not be a film scene here in Long Island. I don't know. I haven't really explored too hard yet, but
wow, I'm surprised you haven't looked into that. I guess are you pretty satisfied behind the mic there, or are you done with? I know you're going to come help us with the sessions, but nothing else, huh?
No, I do want to do more acting, especially like I said, I get ebbs and flows of when I want to do it. So like when I watch this stuff, like I just did, I watched a bunch of reels and things of your work, and then I watched some the stuff I was involved in, and I'm like, man, I missed this. And then and then I start thinking to myself, yeah, I want to get back on the horse again and do some more acting in front of the camera. I do want to get involved with this film scene out here on Long Island, and still keep ties with you and the whole North Carolina team, so it's definitely something I still have it in me. It's still,
Good, because you're a natural, man.
Oh, right back at you, man. It's always a blast. And now you've been, so for people that don't know, this is Al Julian, a good friend of mine, and a guy who really encouraged me and kind of gave me a lot of opportunities to be in many of his films and short films and projects that he's done. Some were dramatic, Some were comedies, like straight up just slapstick stuff we did. There's a wide range of that Al carries as a writer and as a performer. And I was just really happy to be a part of it all. So tell me, Al, how long have you been doing the films and been entrenched in this movie scene like you are now?
Well, it's funny. I had a couple of careers, a checkered past, as they say, doing other things. For a long time, I was involved as a clinical psychologist, and I burned out of that in the 90s and went Carolina Law School, did that, burned out of that pretty quickly. And then I did a lot of, I guess, what you call forensic law, which is doing, evaluations of mostly unsavory characters, from anywhere from death row to alcohol and drug treatment programs, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, so I pretty much stopped doing that in 2013, but I'd started writing screenplays about 2011. So I've been doing it for about 10 years, a little over 10 years now. And I think the first film that I made starred my buddy right here, Don Sill. We made a short film called The Agent back in 2013, and Don played the agent. And it was a psychological horror piece, which later got woven into a feature film, an anthology called Fever Dreams, which is now playing on Amazon Prime, Tubi, and Hulu for anybody that might be interested checking us out. I also play a part in the film. So, and that was a blast. And that got me hooked.
That's awesome. So now just to go back, so you were doing like, law and forensics and all these like intense jobs. Did you always have the notion that because I'm assuming that when you write stuff, like when you like the session or things like that, you kind of pull from those days or some of the things that you've experienced through that time. But when you were doing those jobs, that to me are very kind of serious jobs, did you know that, okay, I'm not this, I really feel more passion towards the arts, and this is where I feel like I'm going to end up going? Or did it just kind of happen? Like, how did the transition happen? Because it is kind of two different worlds in a way. It's like,
well, I'm going to get personal here on you, but anyway, yeah, I come from a family, with this, like, my old man was a lifer military guy, right? And my mother was like the traditional housewife. This was back in the, I was born in the late 40s, so I'm talking a long time ago. And so, I kind of got interested in acting and artistic pursuits when I was in high school. But my parents just thought anything like that, any kind of endeavor like that was a total waste of your time, right? So it's like that's just something you didn't do if you're part of my family. So I did a little bit in high school, and then after that, I just kind of dropped it for a number of years. Then, as I told you, I burned out on psychology probably 40 years ago. And my ex-wife and I at the time took a 17-month walk around the world, which was fun, but it was probably the beginning of the end for us, but it was still fun.
right.
But at that point, I started writing again. I said, okay, I'm going to write some short stories, rationalize taking this time off, for creative endeavors. And so I sent those stories back to my parents while I was on the road. And I was in Europe for about 12 of those months. I never heard a thing. So I came back, after 17 months, first visit back home, I got my mother aside. I said, well, Mom, you never made a comment about these short stories. And she goes, let me just say one thing to you. I said, okay. She goes, stick to your day job.
Oh, man.
Well, seriously, I didn't write much again after that, Don, really, for a number of years. But I think this is weird, and this is kind of going to tell you something about me. My folks both died back 12, 13 years ago. And I don't know what happened to me then, but it just kind of freed me up. And I said, I guess maybe I didn't have them in the back of my head anymore. And I just said, yeah, I'm just, all of a sudden, whatever I had in terms of writer's block or concerns about doing it, it all went away. And since then, I haven't been able to stop. So, but anyway, so that probably tells you something about me. I'm not sure I wanted to tell you, But
Oh no, I think that's really great, and I think a lot of people could understand where you're coming from, and they might be going through the same type of thing as well, because a lot of families kind of poo-poo the arts. They don't think it's feasible. They don't think it's doable. They don't think that there's a true career path with that. When you get like those kind of realistic parent types who just see a certain thing. You work hard, you go to college, you get a good job, and then and that's the rest of your life you do that. But they don't understand how the creative mind or creative people are, is that the creativity, we didn't choose that. It chose us, and it drives us. And there's always this inner fire, this inner passion, or this need to do that. And I think for you, for what you just said, you found the freedom to do that. Unfortunately, when they were gone, but it unleashed you to not think that you're going to disappoint them for pursuing it. And then here you go, and now you've wrote so many great movies, and not only did you write them, you brought them to life. You produced them, you casted them, you starred in them yourself in some cases, or at least you put yourself in there. So you did everything you could to make these things happen, and I commend you for that. And I think that's awesome, because they say when it's all said and done, you never regret the things that you did. You only regret. So you did it all, my friend. So God bless you, man.
Thank you. Yeah, I've kind of that is my kind of motto at this point. It's that old carpe diem motto, man. Just do it. And and I think just from just a circle back a bit, I don't want to paint my parents too negatively. In a way, I think there's some reality that I've encouraged my own kids. My son, who loves to write and has written 4 feature screenplays, just produced his first short film, which I'll give him a plug. It's called Wind Farm. Just got in a festival today. But
congrats.
As he was coming up, I wanted to encourage his creative spirit, but at the same time, I told him, I'm gonna back you up on all that 100%, but I also want you to get an education and just get something you could do to fall back on while you pursue that career path. You pursue your dreams, but have something you could do to make money if that isn't panning out immediately. Right. So he went and he got a law degree. So now he's practicing law. He's of counsel for one of the big weed companies out in Colorado. So
nice.
but he's continuing to write, and it's a job that gives him some free time. And I think eventually he's thinking that he'll be able to kind of branch out and just do the creative stuff 100%. So anyway, there's some virtue to getting a toolkit, where you can do something besides creative stuff if you need to, if you have to. Right.
Yeah. You got to be able to, fund yourself and live and be that and successful in that, right? Also, but yeah, like you said, that's very important. But yeah, I think also the creativity bug, man, that just never stops.
It never stops. It doesn't. It never stops. I absolutely agree with you. And right now, it's what keeps me going.
Yeah, man, you got a ton of energy. You're knocking them out of the park. You've done a lot of great work, and you're now kind of a well-decorated filmmaker. You got a lot of accolades under your belt. You earned a lot of props and awards through the circuit, the film festival circuit. Tell me a little bit about that, like that second phase. So you write the movie, you make the movie. Then after you make the movie, especially on the independent level, the next step is film festivals.
Well, it's been a real learning curve. And I feel like I'm learning a little bit more every year and getting a little bit closer to where I would like to be as time goes by. I think the first step is writing it. And when I started writing, of course, I'm nobody. Nobody's ever heard of me. And, I wrote a couple scripts and started trying to pitch them around and, to LA and New York. And of course, all I got back was like a lot of form letter emails, we don't know you, or, nothing, or hear nothing, right? So I get to the point where I said, I'm going to have to make something myself, kind of like proof of concept for me. And so that's what I started doing. But with the agent and some of the other films, but I found I liked it so much that I just continued to do it. now I'm having the opportunity to collaborate more with other production companies, which is nice in terms of, take some of the burden of the expense off of me and the time off of me. And yeah, but probably the next step was getting into the film festival route. What was helpful about that for me was I had enough projects out there that I could submit a number of them to a variety of festivals, and a few started to win some awards, and that got some recognition, and again, maybe brought in more interest in what I was doing from other people, which helped me partner up with other production companies and make maybe larger projects. And I've got a couple going right now, so I'm real pleased about that. And as I said, and I'll plug it again, we did get our first feature film up on Amazon Prime last year, Fever Dreams, and it's got my man Don in it. So
yeah, Fever Dreams. I love Fever Dreams. Everybody needs to go out and check it out on Amazon, and just check it out. Not just because I'm in it, not just because Al's in it.
Oh, he's great.
But it is a fun ride. It's similar to like the Twilight Zones type of vibe where there's a plot twist in each of the stories, and I think there's four different
vignettes, yeah.
4 vignettes within the movie as a whole, and that was my first time ever being the lead really in a big production like that, because that was a really good production. We shot it in a weekend. Yes,
we did.
Yeah, that's tough to do. That
we were shooting on a shoestring back then, man. I can't believe we did that. We're talking about a 20-odd minute film, right?
Yeah.
It's like 1-2 takes, so we're going with it.
And the locations too, you got some really good locations.
Yeah.
Like, we had that office building, then we had the bar scene, and
yep.
you and I were in that scene, and then we also had the apartment. Like so we were able to get 3 set locations, right? I think it was only 3, was it more? I forget.
But there were just 3 in the first vignette.
Yeah. But to pull that off, 3 set locations, and a 20-minute, long approximately movie, we shot it in like 2 days.
Yeah.
That was
amazing. That was amazing.
And sometimes that's fun though, to run and gun like that.
Yeah, it is. And a lot of times when you can only do a take or 2, the takes are better, than whether if you try, you can almost overkill on takes, I think. And a lot of times you get your best take in the first 2. Stop.
Yeah, exactly.
Move on. Yeah, but you've started a couple things with me. We made a comedy series, which has done pretty well on the circuit. It was called the Very Special People Show.
Very Special People.
And yeah. 3 of those. Don, I made 3 of those. And Don, if I may brag on him, plays a different character in each one of those, and he's in different types of disguises in a couple of them, it's really fascinating. And I play the show host who's interesting, who's interviewing these very special people. It's pure comedy, pure slapstick, but
those are great. My favorite one is the one where I fart and I can't talk, but I communicate through my farts.
The nether talk.
The nether talkers. That's my favorite one. And Tracy played my wife in that.
Yeah.
And she's sniffing the fart in to try to, and she's like, oh, he says hi. It was just so great.
Those were fun. And actually, one of my favorite one was the one that you played the rapper in.
Oh, that was great. Yes.
We wrote a rap song together for that one.
Yeah, that was fun. We recorded the song, and they had to get the old man makeup on and all that.
Yeah. Soul Hole.
Yes. So I know a lot of the people have kind of moved around, but is it still the same? Like, is Conrad still around, and Tim and all those guys, or are they?
Yeah, Tim I haven't seen much of. Tim left town for a couple of years, and I think he came back recently. I think his business struggled with the COVID. And he went back to Colorado and did some stuff there with, I think his folks have a business out there, but he came back recently. Conrad is in town. We still work together. He and I we're starting this comedy podcast. I'd love to get you in on if you were down here. and
Yeah.
we're going to do it's just like a radio. It's going to be all radio skits. So we're trying to rewrite a lot of the skits we wrote for another comedy series we had called Dear Sirs. We made about a dozen skits. They're all over YouTube.
Those are great.
If you're listening, yeah. And just look up Dear Sirs. Anyway, we're going to try to do those. We've rewritten a bunch of skits with sound effects. So we're going to try to do a bunch of those skits now I think we got our first meeting on March 19th.
Nice.
Team meeting, we're going to do a couple skits, so that'd be fun.
Nice. Yeah, Conrad is a funny dude and
He
another
is
talented
fun.
guy. And yeah, Dear Sirs, I really like that. And I don't know if you still have the same troupe of players for this new radio show that you had from Dear Sirs, but there was
Some of the same people. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a good talent pool in there. But I think my favorite thing that you did that I think in today's day and age is nowadays I don't I could just imagine the backlash you get from the Ken B whatever.
Oh boy. All right. I was hoping you might bring Ken B up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually I think it's hilarious. It was right at the cusp of the movement, like with that whole thing, like it was right at the wave, just as everything was, kind of like, the stuff that like Dave Chappelle's going through now. It was
Yes.
like it was about 10 years prior to that or something like that, the Ken B doll, right?
Yeah, well, it's about 5 years prior to that.
Okay, yeah,
That was fun. And interestingly enough, Ken B has won 3 Best Comedy Awards in the last couple of years, but all of them have been overseas, right? And overseas film festivals. None of them, it's hard to get it into a festival here in the United States.
yeah.
Oh, I did get it in a couple here just recently. So things are kind of loosening up. And like Chappelle, we're not trying to punch down on transsexuality or transsexuals. I think what we're punching at is the whole idea with this little skit is the whole notion of parents trying to lay on, sexuality of any kind, but especially different sexuality on little kids, and it's a comedy about that. And
Right.
And anybody that's ever interested in seeing that can always reach out to me, and I'll give you the link.
Yeah.
Test at AOL.com.
and all of those Dear Sir episodes and everything you do with the team you have there. I mean, there's some really great like DPs out there, guys who shoot and film, and Conrad's really good, and the lighting, everything's really super professionally done. So like you're gonna see some good stuff when you check out any of Al's work and all of that. Now with comedy, when you talk about Ken B and things like that, right? Do you feel like that comedy is it's getting too woke? Are you concerned about what you can and can't say anymore?
Oh, I mean, I think my answer to that just by the virtue of the fact I made Ken B when this woke stuff was actually getting started. And I totally agree with the Chappelle model. And I firmly believe that with the comedy or the arts in general, nothing should be sacred. To me, you've got to be able to laugh at anything. You've got to be able to talk about anything, or you run the risk of going down that slippery slope of shutting everybody's mouths and minds about everything in the long run. So
that's the thing. I agree. That's well said too. It's not only that, if you believe something or whether or not it's the right thing or the wrong thing, but the fact that you're not allowed to talk about it, or if you do, you get labeled or get canceled, or they try to shut you down or make you lose your job or try to shame you in some way, rather than talk it through. So like if I had a point to make to somebody, I'm going to try to push my point across and say, hey, talk about it, and not even really, debate it, but like in a negative way, but explain, all right, this is why I think this is funny, or this is what my beliefs are, versus, oh, you disagree with me, boom, you're shunned. I think it is a slippery slope, and that's what I don't like about what's going on these days.
Well, I'm hoping it's beginning to change a little bit. I see more and more people, I think, even some people that were previously, I think, on the side of of censorship and virtue signaling, like Bill Maher, I think, is one who is starting to wake up. I think really wake up and say, hey, wait a minute. When it comes to the arts and comedy, we really got to stop being so sensitive. Let people speak. Let people enjoy. Different types of humor, different types of art. It's okay. So I'm optimistic that people are starting to wake up to that. And I, for one, I'm not going to stop doing what I think, making what I think is funny, or making films that I think are come from my heart. I'm not going to stop doing it.
Good. Yes. I applaud you on that. Don't. Yeah. Always, that's what it is. You can't, like we've been talking about the creative mind all this time. You can't stifle the creativity, and just because, somebody doesn't agree with it or doesn't think it's funny, and humor is very subjective. Art is very subjective. So, it is a slippery slope, but at the same time, we have freedom of expression, freedom of the press, and freedom, to be individuals. So,
well, let's continue to champion that perspective if we can, right?
Yes, indeed.
We don't want to lose that. So yeah, with our podcast tends to be plenty anti-PC. So find it and tune into it. I think we're going to open with this skit, and I'll go too far in this. We're going to open with a skit that I presented to the Pitch Comedy Club, and I don't know if you remember that here in Chapel Hill, that they were the big comedy club in downtown Chapel. I'm in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, in Chapel Hill. And this was about 4 years ago. And I went down there. A friend of mine was one of the writers down there. He said, "Oh, come on down here. They'd like to hear some of your stuff." And I took a skit down there, and be a little anti-PC here. It was called Autistic Jeopardy was the name of the skit. And it was kind of based on the old Rain Man thing, movie, that where Dustin Hoffman plays the autistic guy. He was pretty funny, and he was a savant. He could do some things really well, but he also perseverated with his answers on things. So anyway, it's an Autistic Jeopardy skit, 3 contestants. So anyway, it's not PC at all. Anyway, so I read this skit to this group of about 10 people. A couple of them were the owners of the comedy club. And when I was done with it, it's only like a 4-minute skit. About half of them laughed real hard, and the other half just kind of sat there with a sour look on their faces. And this one guy who was the manager of the club looks at me and shakes his head and says, "We can't possibly put skits like that on here." And I said, "Really?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "We're not in the business of offending any groups in terms of disabled, women, races." And he mentioned about 6 things. And I said, "Well, what's left? Donald Trump?" At that time, and basically that's kind of what was left, and apparently that's what they were doing. I said, you limit yourself in terms of when you start shutting all the doors, you can't laugh at anything. What's left?
Yeah. They're like, you could call
Probably
Donald
me, an old
Trump.
white guy, that's what's left.
Yeah, they're like, you can call Donald Trump anything you want, but don't you
That's
dare.
right. Anything you want. Right.
But don't you dare hurt these people.
I know. Come on.
But
I can take it. I'm an old, fat, bald-headed white guy. You can make fun of me if you want. So, have at it.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. It is crazy, to see how things are evolving. But I do think it's evolving back a little bit. I think the pendulum's starting to swing the other way. I think people fighting back, like, Joe Rogan was under the radar for a little bit. I think he just got too big for them to deal with, and they just wanted to bring him down a notch. But I don't think it worked. I think they empowered him. Same with Dave Chappelle. So these guys are leading the way for pushing back. And as long as the Netflixes of the world and the series, what's he on again? Rogan,
Spotify.
So as long as the Netflixes of the world, the Spotifys of the world stay strong and don't cave in to the demands of the mob, I think we'll get past this.
I do too, and also look at it from a Machiavellian point of view too. Don, is that if there's money to be made out there somewhere, not all the doors are going to close. That's one of probably the positives about capitalism, is that if there's an audience out there for Dave Chappelle or Joe Rogan, which there is a huge audience for, somebody's going to keep the door open for them because there's money to be made. Right. In a way that it's a blessing to be part of a capitalistic society in that regard. So
yes, indeed. So so now you got these how many films do you have rotating in the festivals right now?
Right now, I think I've got about, let's see, I've got a new one called Birthday Boy that just hit the festivals about, it's the only film, I made 2 short films right before COVID hit. And then this is the only film I've made since COVID. And we had a lull in COVID back last spring. So we jumped on it, made this little short psychological horror story, and it's been doing really well. It's called Birthday Boy, and it's about an abusive dad on his birthday. And it's basically shot in one house, and it's got 5 actors. One of them is my son-in-law, Vince Eisenson, who's really great.
Nice.
And, Vince has been in a bunch of things. He was in Wonder Woman 84. He was in Good Lord Bird, speaking parts in those. I think he's got an episode of Billionaires coming up, Billions, I think it's called.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's funny in this, but it's not really. It's kind of funny, but it's more psychological horror. And so that's one of them. I've still got a film called Gift, which is kind of a little bit, not exactly faith-based, but a little bit, it's got a spiritual base to it. It's done really well. It just got picked up for distribution by Filmocracy. But it's still got a few festivals left, and it continues to win. It's won a double handful of Best Picture, Best Cast awards, which is pretty good.
Wow.
And then another one called The Reunion, which I also made shortly before COVID, based upon some true events in my life. It's about a 40th high school reunion where these couple comes together that haven't seen each other in a long time, and the ramifications of that. That's still on the circuit, and that's doing well too. And that got picked up for distribution recently. So
damn, yeah, man.
And then I got let's see what else. There's one little comedy called Big Squad at the Diner, and that's still out there with a few festivals left. But yeah, we're getting ready to make some new films though. One of them's The Sessions, which you're going to be part of. You're going to reprise your role of Mr. Fouché. We made kind of a proof of concept back years ago, you and I and a few other crazy fools. And The Sessions, I'll just back up a little bit, is based on a true story. I used to run murderers groups back in the day. 40 years ago, I ran murderers groups for 2 years.
Wow.
And they were for a forensic unit, which was back then it was called a unit for the criminally insane, but they've fancied it up now. Now it's a forensic unit, but that's what it is. And the characters are all based on guys that I knew in that group, and Don plays one of them, actually the kind of the chief bad guy in the film. And he does a beautiful job. He's going to reprise that role hopefully in the fall.
Oh man, I can't wait. I would yeah, I definitely want to reprise the role, and you know, it's just you know, I was just watching it again today, and I'm like, man, it's just so well written, and like I love the twist at the end, and you know, when we remake this and it comes out, I think people are going to really be drawn to watch this film, and especially it's a series now, so you can get more in depth in the characters, show background, you know, show their arc in a different way, and yeah, and are you bringing back the whole cast, or is it going to be newly cast?
I'm not bringing back the whole cast. Some aren't available. I'm introducing a couple of new characters also, so there's going to be some new cast members. Some of the cast members will be the same. I am probably going to bring, I don't know if you know who Keith Harris is. He was in The Walking Dead. He played Dr. Corbin.
Oh yeah, he was in one of the, he's in Fever Dreams, right?
Yeah, he's in Fever Dreams. He's in one episode of Fever Dream. I think he's coming in as the doctor, and I think Briggsy will be back in some capacity. I may rewrite him. I think I've rewritten him another character that comes in the second episode. The guy that was supposedly missed the first group because he'd stolen an ice pick, Mr. Roberts. I think he's coming back in as Mr. Roberts, and I'm going to cast an Asian dude, probably either I've got a Pakistani guy that I've gotten to know in mind for the Rafi character. But it's going to be a enclosed 6-episode series. And if anybody wants to see the proof of concept that you and I made 5 or 6 years ago, they're welcome to reach out to you and you can share the link if you'd like to.
Oh yeah, I would love that. If anybody wants
that's
to
off
see.
the festival circuit now, so that'd be great. So
Yeah,
you
all right,
do that
cool.
with you could do that with your viewers if you'd like. From up
Yeah, that'd be awesome. It's always fun, like, you know, playing a character like Fouché, who is a a murderer, a serial killer type of guy who loved it. He tells you straight out that he loved it. He loved everything about it, from, you know, setting the scene, and like he sneaks into the house and he sets the scene up, and he, you know, he looks at it like it's an art.
Exactly.
And then you know, then he you know, he just takes joy in it, and he likes to kind of mess around with the other guys in the session. So these are other murderers, and Fouché kind of, he's kind, I think I might have said this to you back then too, that where he's kind of like Judd Nelson in The Breakfast Club, but turned up a notch.
Yeah, he loves to stir up trouble.
Yeah, he's like
himself and stir it up.
Yeah,
he stays consistent through the series, so you're gonna enjoy it.
Oh man,
I'm looking forward to making it.
I can't wait.
And I've got two other projects that I'll plug at some point along here, but
yeah, let me know what else you got going on.
Okay, well, the thing that's coming up next is another feature film, and it's called The Last to Know, and it's based upon a script that I wrote. It was originally titled Hiya Kid, and it's about it's a ventriloquist dummy psychological horror story. And there have been a few of those, but there hasn't been a really good one in a long time.
Right.
And, so we're going to use that old trope and make a new story out of it. And we're partnered up with Triad Studios down here. They're now in Apex. They built a brand new studio to spec about 2 months ago. Nice studio, really talented group of young guys, 5 of them, and they've got some assistants working with them too. So it's going to be a full feature. I think it's 95 minutes, and we're going to take 16 days to shoot it in June. And it's about this young guy who is a struggling ventriloquist comedian, and he's trying to make it. His act is terrible, but he's got 2 dummies that he uses, and he slowly loses his sense of identity, and one of the dummies is a creepy old dummy, and the story kind of goes from there. His act becomes more successful, and he gets crazier. So anyway, I'm not going to tell you the whole thing, but
that sounds great. Yeah,
it should be fun. And so we are just about cast that, and we're still beating the bushes for a couple of the smaller female roles. But my son-in-law Vince is going to play the main character in that one as well. And that should be good because he's quite an accomplished ventriloquist already.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Very cool. That's awesome.
The other project is one that's based on another kind of true story experience I had back in college. It's Faux Nostalgia, and it's going to be just a short film, a 20-minute film, and I'm making it with the University of North Carolina. The script won the Creative World Award for Best Short Script.
Wow.
2021. It was nice, baby, some cash.
Wow, man. Congratulations on that. I didn't even know.
So make that with the University of North Carolina. So those are the projects I got on the plate immediately. And then, so I'd like to continue on some of the old projects. If I could get you back downtown, I'd have a few in mind.
Yeah. Like I said, I still got some, my kids live there, so I'll probably be down visiting, and then in the summertime, so maybe we could set something up, or at least come visit and hang out, but
Sure.
At the very least. But yeah, I would love to work on something with you and kind of get back into the swing of being in front of the camera, that capacity, and acting, and playing a character. But yeah, it's always a blast working with you, man. And all these films, I just love that you just keep going, you just grinding, just knocking them out of the park every time.
It's kind of what I live for now. That and playing poker.
Nice. So just before we wrap this, can you I always like to ask the guests to kind of give advice or words of wisdom to anybody who wants to do what you do and wants to make movies and you know, and but don't know where to start or doubt themselves or any of that kind of stuff, what would you say to those people?
Um, well, a couple of things. One, I'd say, don't ever lose the desire to, if to be creative. That's where your heart is. To make that as successful for yourself as possible, I would probably encourage people to write about, if they're writers, write about what they know. If they're actors, try to play characters that they can somehow find a piece of themselves in. I think you're much more likely to have success if you speak from the heart about something that you really understand or you're familiar with. I think that's whether you're an actor or a writer. I guess I could see a lot of examples where people don't do that and it doesn't work so well. You can almost tell, well, this writing doesn't make sense. It's not psychologically correct. This character is not psychologically correct. So I guess, the other part of what I would encourage is people to live their lives as maximally as they can. Get as many experiences as you can in life. Travel, get to know a lot of people, try a lot of things. If you're really serious about being an actor or a writer of any kind, get as much experience under your belt as you can. It's all grist for the mill in terms of your acting and your writing. I don't think you learn to be a good actor or a good writer reading books or sitting in a room or watching a whole bunch of movies. I don't think it works like that. I think the way you learn is through living. So that'd be my advice.
Wow, that's awesome. That's perfect and well said. And I do think, you need life's experience to be able to pull from, in anything. But yeah, I think that the more you know, the more you live, the deeper you can go, even with a performance. I mean, there's always those exceptions to the rule, but I think a lot of people pull from their experiences, and that's what they tell you, like even in acting school, to if you want to cry, trying to tap into a moment when you were,
I still can't do that, but go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say to you. The only time I ever had to cry in a movie was on The Agent, and that was when Jeff Briggs found me in the elevator, and he scared me in there, and then
Yeah,
I
I
had to
remember that. You did a pretty good job. Yeah.
Yeah.
You hid your face though, so we couldn't see those tears. I can't get tears to come. I can't get tears. I've tried it a few times. I even think sad thoughts. I can't do that. That's one of my weaknesses.
It's tough. Like that was the only. I only had to do two things. Like, so in my career as an actor, I had to cry once, which was that time, and it was hard because I always tell people I'm sitting in the elevator and I have to cry. I'm trying to cry, but all I keep thinking is that I forget who it was, but there was like a girl on the boom. I kept thinking about her. Like I wasn't convincing her. Like she was. I'm like, she doesn't believe that I'm crying. And then I only had one on-screen kiss in my career, and that was another indie film that I did a few years. It was the last thing I worked on before I moved to Atlanta, and it was just a short little indie thing. It wasn't even a movie. It was like, I don't even know if it ever was released. I never seen it. So I just made out with this lady, and that was it.
Well, you got something good out of it anyway.
Yeah.
Hey, and I remember once you had to pee on a set. But you were off camera.
Yeah.
So that was I remember filming that scene in the bathroom. Remember how many people we had in that little bathroom?
Oh yeah.
Underneath the sink with the cameras and stuff.
In the stall with the boom. Yeah, it was
there were like 6 people in this tiny little bathroom, plus 2 actors.
Good times.
Yeah, there were good times.
Al, this was great, man. Just seeing you and getting to talk to you. It's been a while.
Really
it's been a few years. Man. And yeah, definitely looking forward to working with you again soon on the sessions, and hopefully more projects to come. Hopefully we get you here in Long Island, and we could do some stuff here too. I'm
ready.
These comedians love to act, and some are have good, have reels already, so we make that happen. But But yeah, so just tell everybody where they could find you and follow you and watch your work and stuff like that.
Sure. A couple places you can find me. You can find me on Facebook under Al Julian. And that's probably the best way to find me. I could give you the names of some of the projects we're putting together. They've got pages, but if you just go to my Facebook page, all those things and friend me up if you want to. I can link in with the rest of those things. It's Al Julian, Julian. Other way to find me, I'm on Twitter too, but the other way to find me is just through my email. If anybody's interested in seeing some of the films that are no longer in the festival circuit, I'd be glad to send them out, especially if they drop your name or drop your show's name. And my email is pro, the number 4, test, TEST, at AOL.com. Because that's what I used to do. I used to test a lot of these strange people. Pro4test at AOL.com. So those are the 2 ways you can probably find me the easiest.
Awesome. Thanks again, Al.
My pleasure, Don.
You rock.
Great to see you, man.